So the drying up a fondant, I'm not sure if it has a name, but then that is to dry the fondant. For example, if there is like too much humidity, I haven't tried that, but the fondant figurines that are made, people do that to dry out the fondant, which is like bake it and then take it. But while baking, obviously there is that fear it is going to melt there, and shape will get distorted a bit. But there are times when I've known people also cover the cake board and then bake it in the oven and take it. So the after the cake board is covered, when we are just touching the sides of the board and all, right, our finger marks come. But then when you bake and take it, it gets dried up like solid. And even when you're pressing on your finger on the sides of the board, it is like intact. So it's like baking and then drying up the fondant. But we are using that for the rough stone texture. So when you break them, obviously you have some bits and pieces of the fondant, which goes well with the rough stone texture. Now my voice is audible, right? Okay. So I have the 6-inch. Now you can see it is clean. Obviously shine is also there, which is nice. But then it's dry. Okay. So now I will move on to royal icing recipes given. Like I said, I have that in the piping bag. I am going to color the royal icing. So I'm going to pipe it out. In the bowl. That should be enough. I'm using Magic Colors Indigo. Video. So using a spatula. So I'm just almost going to match up to the color. So I'm going to add some more of this Magic Colors Spectral Indigo and into the royal icing. Just going to get a bit of darker shade. Some more. You want to see if it will look good. So I'll just use this color. It's going to be a little lighter, but then the stencil is going to be seen as well. I just picked up one particular stencil. Obviously, Om Craft has like quite a good varieties of stencils. You could ping them on Instagram. I will also put the contact number for the Om Craft on the WhatsApp group. Let me just check the consistency. If it is like too runny, just spreading out to check the consistency. So that's the stencil I have. And obviously I don't want to do it this way. I'll do this way. I'll start from the back. So here's the join. So I'm going to use shortening for this stencil to stick, I'm just going to spread some shortening here, and then I'm just going to attach it. Just a bit of shortening in my fingers. Obviously, the spread of shortening, it works with fondant cake only, but stenciling you can do on ganache and buttercream cakes as well. I haven't found it successful with a whipped cream cake because definitely when taking out, even if there's freezing time or stuff like that, there is a bit of damage to the frosting that we've made. They'll also have a pin. I just poke a pin to just keep this in place. And once I start spreading out, it will just stay in place. Just also avoid the pin. Let me just start doing. It's going to turn it so you could see here. I'm just going to keep spreading on just one direction because there could be a kind of spillage and overlap in between, and the designs could just merge. To avoid that, I'll only spread from bottom to top. And then I have this flexible scraper. I'm just going to gently scrape off the excess. I have this much of excess. I will put it back into the bowl. That looks good, but I just want to wash this part to move on to the next part. Pia, wash. In the meantime, I'll just remove off the excess spillages. Natural. Once royal icing dries, also it is even more easier to remove. Now, depending on how I should decide if I need this extra gap in between or no gap. If it is no gap, let me just sit down to visually I can see, and then I will just turn around. So I mean, at this place, if I'm going to place this stencil without the stencil overlapping on the design, then I'm going to have a bit of gap. And if I don't need the gap, then obviously I need to allow this to dry completely, because this part where the design is not there, right? This part where the design is not there has to be overlapped. And now that is going to cause some damage because that royal icing is not dried. So I'm just going to allow that gap to be there. If I don't want that, I need to let the first part of the royal icing that I spread to completely dry before I put the next one. So I have placed very next to that design wherever it is ended. He is going to start spreading out from here. So very carefully so it doesn't just go and just standing up. Just try and poke it here so it doesn't move. Scraping off excess. Sending it to wash. And that line is fine. Now here I'm just going to remove that. So because that's exactly where the next part is just going to come. I think it's fine. I'll see if we need to pipe in something to just fill that up. Okay, I'll do the next one. Let's see how it turns out, or we'll see what we could do to fill that up. Let me pin it on either side. Just remove this now. I'm going to scrape the excess. Here's a one last at the back. And there I'll see if the first one is dried out a bit, not too much. But obviously this will be wet. So I'm just going to match up with that. And make sure I'm just adding only where the one that ends. So I just need to apply within this area only. Just going to turn it around to check if I'm maintaining the straight line and within that gap. there could be a bit of overlap. I'll tell you how to clean them. I'm just going to sit around to check where there are overlaps of royal icing. You go around and then mark and show you. There could be places where the royal icing just went through the stencil. When you have areas like that, so you can see here, this part is like quite clean, right? And this part is like a bit of messed up, right? So there is like not all the time the stencil comes out clean. There are two things why, because the consistency could be loose because of the amount of color we are adding, also how much it was outside drying out, and whether it is like too runny. Sometimes when it is too stiff, again it is like not too great to spread. So this part is like quite clean, right? This part is messy. Now the messed out part can be corrected. Now we will just allow it to dry completely, and once it is fully dried up, we just use craft knife or a pin and then go in and clean out the excess that is there. But then now is not the right time to do, because it will kind of go messed up again. I will allow this to dry. We will get back once it's dry. It will dry up like, say, for this scraping and cleaning part, it will dry up like, say, half an hour to 1 hour before we finish. And then when this is available for stacking, before that I will just let this dry and then clean up the areas. Now while it is still soft, to just go in and then, but you shouldn't be messing it up furthermore. But when it is dry, then you will be able to like cleanly scrape off. But when it is still soft, and this may ruin depending on how steady your hand is as you are cleaning up in between. But then this part is necessary. If you have overlaps and a bit of mess up, you just need to go in between and then just remove off the excess and the overlap areas and then just clean them out. So now as you're working, it is dried up a bit and it allows you to do the cleanup part. So let me just allow this to dry and then run the craft knife, or even like a sharp pin also helps you to just clean up the lines in between and then scrape out all the overlaps. This part is, there is quite a bit of overlap here. Then this area is like quite clean. So obviously this part is, there is overlap. So I think I will just clean up one part of the overlap, so which here I have just started doing. This part I will just clean up to show. But then I think maybe another area, like two areas we'll just clean up to check. Then I think overall, we have the stencil done on the double barrel cake. Some areas, okay, we have the question. Yeah, I was just doing the cleanup. How to make golden royal icing? See, golden royal icing, you can add in the luster dust, gold luster dust there. Start with like maybe ivory colored royal icing, and you can add the luster dust into the royal icing, but then that needs like quite a bit. The other way to do is that's not, I'm not a very fan of that. You apply like say maybe an ivory royal icing, and then you, before removing the stencil, you kind of airbrush gold on the top of the stencil before peeling it. But then the edges are going to look ivory or white or whatever color you've added. The royal icing's color will show. But I have tried adding a copper colored royal icing in one of my sessions before, and it has worked, but it has taken in a lot of luster dust. You have to keep pumping in luster dust powder, and then golden airbrush color, gold, antique gold, and quite a bit of that, and then you keep mixing it up. And then you have your royal icing in that gold sheen color. But that has eaten up a lot of my luster dust and airbrush gold. So I'm like, unless it is absolutely essential, maybe that is not the, I mean, it's not very cost effective. It is just going to eat up a lot of color that way. What medium can be used for stenciling on ganache? On ganache, use ganache itself, or you can use buttercream on ganache as well. How long does it take to dry in humidity? See, humidity, I mean, like when there is, it is humid and then this is going to absorb moisture and stuff like that, then your entire cake is going to be in trouble. So let's not talk about humidity. When you're going to work on a cake of the scale, which means there are more of decorating stuffs, work in AC. So now, how long this is going to even take in a air-conditioned room? It dries up in stages. For it to completely dry, it will take a day. But then in 1 hour, it will go to the first drying stage, and then in 2 hours, and then in 4 hours, it will keep drying with time. But for you to touch, and this should not get messy, will be somewhere around 1.5 hours to about 2 hours is quite fine for you to go and touch the royal icing for it to be dry enough to handle. Is there any other question? That's all. Okay.